I understand it is your overwhelming curiosity for the subject that brought you here, and I get that. I get that because understanding perceptions is understanding a big piece of the equation of what makes us who we are. Perceptions play an important role in so many aspects of our lives, from our ability to navigate the world to the one of eating reheated pizza without obliterating our tongue because we feel the cheese boiling, even beyond the obvious terrible physical threat that would result from getting no perceptual input from the world. Let's not forget the more nuanced effect of perception on our interactions with others.
Oh,
But seriously, do you remember how you made friends in kindergarten? Let me tell you, you asked, "What is your favorite color?" And then either you found a fellow, I don't know, Team Green representative, or you met your arch nemesis from the infamous Team Orange. But think about your current friends or significant other. Do you think maybe you share more taste in music, or cinema, or decorating arrangements than with the average stranger? There is something truly emotional about perceiving things. Others famously bring you back, to your old neighborhood or at your first significant others. The point is, perceptions, whether they lead to particular tastes or to, survival, are just incredibly important in any basic activity you engage in. And that's why, as a society, we need to understand the processes leading to perception. If we didn't know some people cannot distinguish between red and green, or if we did not understand presbyopia and hypermetropia and hadn't created those useful aids called glasses, trust me, you'd think twice before crossing an intersection. Yet here we are. We can not only accommodate perceptual difficulties, but can often treat them, especially when acting early in the development. But again, it goes beyond that. Every time you put good earphones on or try a VR helmet, you benefit from the work of engineers who relied on physiologists and psychologists who painstakingly created an understanding of the human's perceptual system. You think some websites or self checkout interfaces have bad user experiences? Sure, but imagine if there was no knowledge on how visual attention works, on how our eyes explore a scene. At the rate with which we create new tools and transform our environment, it is pivotal that that knowledge is exact and shared. Thankfully, today we see more and more interest from companies to understand not only how the average person interacts with objects and interfaces, but also how to make their products more accessible to people with a range of different perceptual faculties. Have you ever noticed how the accessibility panel on your phone keeps getting longer and longer? That's a good thing, because often all a company has to do is make a little bit more research, really pay a tiny bit more attention, and that makes a product that's better suited for millions more people. Why would you not want that? Any other example of using our knowledge of how perception works to have a useful impact in the world? No? I see it a lot with video games actually. It's fascinating to see how the engineers and the artists working on video games have a small computer with a limited amount of processing power as a canvas, right? And they make, polygons with textures and lighting simulations, all that stuff, just so that the player can have the most pleasing perceptual and cognitive experience. But just like our brain, they can't just recreate a one to one representation of the whole complexity of reality. It would necessitate too much processing power or too much time to render every image. So they make choices. They make choices knowing what we know of visual processing. I mean, given our acuity, would it be more efficient to use the computer power to increase the resolution of every image? Or to render more frames to offer a more convincing illusion of movement? Now, I know you might think that comparing the usefulness of art and medicine is not legitimate, but if you look at the budgets allocated to games with the only objective to entertain, you realize that not only must they do legitimate research to make sure they reach their goal, but the whole business as a whole is a massive source of finances for research in artificial intelligence. This is important because AI is itself contributing to accelerate the research in every field of science right now. Of course, you can add any form of art to the list of human activities that rely on an understanding of the psychology of perception. But the reason why I mention video games in particular is that they illustrate very clearly the idea of compromises that is fundamental to understanding the human perceptual system. Basically, the reason why we can be fooled into believing in moving virtual worlds is that our perceptual system is fundamentally flawed. That's because the brain, along with the rest of our body, has come to be what it is by slowly evolving according to what makes for the most economic adaptation to a specific environment. If the brain is good enough at making accurate predictions on the state of its environment, then becoming even more advanced often makes no sense, as the drawbacks of a larger brain consuming more energy might make it not worth it. Unlike the computer, though, the brain has not been engineered by human intelligence, though there is clearly an organization that is far from random. This makes for a not really fascinating, yet incredibly challenging field of study.